26 on Twitter to keep informed with the latest happening near you.
On your side, this is News 12 at 5:30.
The Capitol Police officers who put their lives on the line during last week's riot are speaking out, a first-hand look at what took place that day. And the Edgefield community remembering 16-year-old Ryan White, who died in a crash from over the weekend.
Everybody loved being around Ryan. He was always had a big smile on his face, always fun to hang around.
A memorial today held in his honor at Strom Thurmond High School's football field. We'll take you to some of those emotional moments. Our Sydney Heiberger was at that memorial and shows us how the community is rallying behind the family during this time.
His friends and family tell me Ryan was a typical teenager who loved cheese sticks, the outdoors, and his friends. And the hundreds of people who crowded into the Strom Thurmond football field today in the cold and rainy weather just proves the community loved him right back. A friend of the family spoke to the crowd today, describing Ryan as a walking country song. He loved trucks, mud, and baseball. His friends told stories about how Ryan loved to ride his truck in the mud or attach kayaks to the back of golf carts and ride around. It's that youthful energy and his smile they say they'll miss the most. Ryan, the middle school principal, told me Ryan went out of his way to be friends with everyone and was known for his bright smile. To her, to know him was to love him, and he made an impact on everyone.
Ryan was a unique young man who had just a very exciting spirit about him. You would know when Ryan was absent because his just beautiful, gorgeous smile, it kind of met you every day.
And one of his teammates tells me the baseball team will be playing this upcoming season in honor of Ryan. How they're going to remember him tonight on News 12 at 6 o'clock. Reporting in Edgefield, Sydney Heiberger on your side.
It's clear that was a young man who was very loved. Taking a look outside, rainy inaugurations, the closing of the National Mall. It will be closed to the public on Inauguration Day. The area between the U.S. Capitol and the Lincoln Memorial is normally packed to the brim to usher new administrations in, but because of safety concerns, that will not be the case. The National Park Service closed certain areas of the National Mall this morning, and those areas will remain off limits through at least next Thursday. Today, we're hearing from a Capitol Police officer who was beaten with a flagpole during the riots last week. He's been released from the hospital, and his voice joins a chorus of other officers who risked their lives that day. As Natalie Brand reports, they're now being hailed as heroes.
This video shows the moment rioters dragged Officer Mike Fanone down the steps of the Capitol, punching and tasing him. He was even pummeled with an American flag. A photo from overhead shows the officer face down on the ground, a rioter holding a police baton over his neck.
Guys were like grabbing gear off my vest and they ripped my badge from me. I was tased, I think about a half dozen times on the back of my neck. I remember guys chanting, like, kill him with his own gun.
Officer Fanone says he thought of his 4 daughters and yelled to the crowd, "I have kids." A couple of them showed mercy.
Thank you. But you for being there.
Fanone is now on sick leave after suffering a mild heart attack, but says he'll be on duty next week if needed.
Oh, hell yeah. I went there for my brothers and sisters in law enforcement. There's no army on this earth that would prevent me from fighting alongside those guys.
Among the other officers assaulted by rioters inside the Capitol, Officer Daniel Hodges, who was nearly crushed by the crowd.
That was one of the 3 times that day where I thought, well, this might be it, you know. We're not the traitors. We're the ones who saved Congress that day, and we'll do it as many times as necessary. It was an honor and a privilege to be able to be there and shut down those people that day.
And Capitol Police Officer Eugene Goodman, who's been hailed a hero after he drew rioters away from the Senate chamber, could receive a Congressional Gold Medal. A bipartisan group of lawmakers introduced a bill saying Goodman deserves Congress's highest civilian honor for putting his life at risk to save them.
Pretty chilling images still to see. Authorities did arrest the man accused of beating the officer with a flagpole. He is from Arkansas. Most major U.S. airlines are banning guns and checked luggage on flights bound for Washington. This after the deadly riot at the U.S. Capitol last week. Delta announced yesterday it will ban checking guns to D.C. area airports. United, Alaska, American, and Southwest are following suit. The bans start tomorrow and run past Inauguration Day through next Saturday. New this afternoon, we're giving you a look at the 3 former Aiken County jailers arrested for using excessive force on an inmate. Corporal Rodney Robinson Jr., Deputy Hilario Fuentes Rosario, and Sergeant Thomas Caffrey Jr. used force allegedly against a 29-year-old male inmate who was passively resisting, according to video, and not following commands. The 3 were fired after an internal investigation. That's when SLED was called in for the criminal investigation. They reviewed some video evidence from back in August. That led to the arrests this morning. Coronavirus vaccinations are underway at some of our local nursing homes. These are photos from the first ever vaccine clinic held today at Marshall Pines Assisted Living in Evans. We're told about 30 seniors with the help of CVS were vaccinated. Around 90% of residents and staff were able to get those first doses of the Pfizer vaccine today. Staff tells us their community is one of the few to remain COVID-free during the pandemic, and that is impressive. They hope the vaccine makes their residents feel even more protected.
For us to be able to offer this to our residents and staff members has been monumental. It's just another level of protection that we have to protect everybody against the COVID virus.
Marshall Pines says it's also protecting residents by having an ionization system in the building and common areas that helps filter the air. Their seniors are set to get the second dose of the Pfizer vaccine on February 5th. And pharmacies at 2 grocery chains in our area offering COVID vaccines now. This is being done through a partnership with the state of Georgia. The vaccines will be available at every Kroger pharmacy in Georgia and at the public stores in Evans and Martinez. Vaccinations will be provided by appointment only. They're available now for first responders, healthcare workers, anyone 65 or older, and residents and staff of long-term care facilities. So that is who is eligible as of now. A link to sign up is on our website. Good news for schools in the Peach State. Georgia Public Schools getting more than $1.7 billion in federal stimulus funds. This comes from the CARES Act. The money will be used to help with virtual learning, school meals, equipment, and more. The State Board of Education yesterday approved the recommendation to start passing that money out to districts. One of the University of South Carolina's most decorated and popular women's basketball players now has her own tribute right on campus. Check it out. This is a statue of Asia Wilson. It's now right outside Colonial Life Arena where the Gamecocks play ball. It's a fitting tribute to Wilson. She led her team to the national championship in 2017. She was the #1 overall pick in the 2018 WNBA draft and was just named the league's most valuable player this past season. A teacher in Savannah is making sure her 5th grade students know what Martin Luther King Jr. fought for. She said despite having to do a virtual lesson, she had to make sure the message got across. Her lesson is focused on bringing the past into the present and how Martin Luther King Jr.'s message has so much meaning today.
We're seeing so many younger children around this world becoming activists about so many things. So I think it's important. They're our future, and we got to have them understand how to take the past and kind of mesh it into the present and the future.
Such an important message, and coming up tonight at 6 o'clock, you're going to hear from our local teachers about how they're spreading the message to their students this year. The pandemic did not stop our local colleges from celebrating Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Today, Augusta University, Augusta Tech, and Payne College held a virtual celebration. Today's celebration featured keynote speaker Andrew Young, a former congressman and U.S. ambassador to the United Nations. The 100 Black Men of Augusta organization will be helping the community in a big way. January 23rd, that's a week from tomorrow, from 9 to 3, you can come out to their event at Jay's Place in Augusta or Fade's Barber Shop on Wrightsboro Road. They'll be doing free saliva testing. They'll be offering free face masks and hand sanitizer. The group's mission right now is to try to stop the spread of COVID-19. We're taking you back to the largest tech show, and COVID gadgets seem to be the really hot new items this year. We'll show you some of the cool innovations. Riley?
We are expecting a cool down tomorrow, and that wind is going to be pumping. We are expecting those lake wind advisories for your Saturday. I will link that full forecast next.
The biggest consumer tech show in the world goes virtual this year, and it isn't a surprise that tech companies are inventing products to fight the coronavirus. Jamie Tucker gives us a closer look.
The CES attracts over 175,000 people from around the world every year, and last year in Las Vegas, many people believed that could have been a super spreader of the coronavirus. So this year's virtual CES is bringing together companies hoping to stop the spread. Abbott Labs showing off its home rapid testing kit with a companion app. The Buy Next Now testing kit gives results in 15 minutes and can display the result on the Navica app that you can show to someone at work, school, or an airport as proof. Scotia introduces a portable air purifier and a magic fogger that disinfects any surface.
It's 100 times stronger than bleach, but safer to use.
Clean Motion is a self-disinfecting doorknob for businesses and schools. After someone opens a door, there's a disinfecting ring that wipes the doorknob clean with a sanitizing liquid. Watch it again. Gate Dock is a smart temperature checker for businesses. As employees enter the building, they approach the gate dock, which reads their forehead temperature and sends a notification to the manager if it detects a fever. And the Eddy is a video doorbell that checks the temperatures of everyone coming to your door.
Immediately using like facial recognition, it's going to track where to take its temperature, and it's going to go from reading an outdoor temperature to an actual temperature of the individual.
The homeowner will get a notification on their phone before they open the door. Those inventions are not available yet, but Abbott Labs is delivering 150 million of those rapid test kits and another 30 million by March. That's What the Tech. I'm Jamie Tucker.
And the University of Wisconsin was the first U.S. customer to receive Abbott's rapid test kits. They're now using them for universities and campuses. So those are already tech gadgets being used. Taking a look at our weather.
Dan Price, Gerald Jones Ford.
New research out of Britain suggests mindfulness courses can improve mental health, but may not be for everyone. Tina Kraus shows us how it works and what experts are trying to find out.
Keeping your breath natural.
The popular form of meditation known as mindfulness is practiced around the world.
For most people in most settings, it will improve depression, anxiety, stress, and well-being.
A University of Cambridge study looked at data from 29 countries and found while community mindfulness courses can improve mental health, in at least 1 in 20 trial settings, it did not help anxiety and depression.
In some cases, a few cases, it may not be beneficial. It may just not have an effect.
Researchers followed almost 12,000 participants, including in the U.S. Most were women who took part in classes at work or college. They found mindfulness, compared with doing nothing, boosted mental health.
So things like exercise may work just as well.
We did find a slight advantage of the mindfulness courses that had an element of physical activity in them.
About 10 seconds.
British body coach Joe Wicks says fitness and mindfulness work hand in hand.
Don't exercise to look good this year, exercise to feel good.
Good morning, everybody.
When the pandemic hit, Wicks became the world's PE teacher, launching live workouts on YouTube to give people a lift during lockdown.
Ultimately, you walk away from that workout, whether you're an adult or a kid, being a little bit happier, and that's the main aim of it.
Natural breathing.
Cambridge researchers say the number of mindfulness classes has jumped significantly during COVID, and they'll continue to study its effect on mental health.
And researchers say they haven't really been able to nail down how effective those online courses are for mindfulness, but the early studies suggest they work. Riley?
Bundle up early tomorrow morning. We're expecting wind chills down into the upper 20s and low 30s. Have a look at that weekend forecast just after the break.
Help us fight for life and train the CSRA. Contact the American Heart Association for details. On your side, this is News 12 at 6 o'clock.
She was just standing in her front yard when a freak car accident left her paralyzed. Doctors told her she would never walk again.
I know whatever I say, my words are not going to do it justice. Unless you're someone who has lost their mobility, there are no words.
Now, her amazing recovery has inspired her to help others.
But first, a memorial service today for 16-year-old Ryan White.
He always had a big smile on his face, always.
He was always smiling, loved to be around him.
Just beautiful, gorgeous smile. It kind of met you every day.
Ryan died on Monday from injuries he suffered in a car accident over the weekend.
The Strom Thurmond High School student loved baseball, and family and friends say he had an infectious smile and would go out of his way just to help others. Sidney Heiberger sat down with his family as they said their final goodbyes and shared a touching video with us of Ryan making his hero walk.
So while we were sad that he is no longer physically on this earth with us,
We are choosing to celebrate who he was.
A life cut far too short,
I'll cherish every memory I have with him and wish I could hug him one more time.
but still a life well remembered.
Everybody loved being around Ryan. He was always had a big smile on his face, always fun to hang around, always lighten the mood.
In the cold and rainy weather, hundreds gathered to pay their respects to Ryan's family and comfort each other through their stories, through their hugs, through smiles of their own.
It's heartwarming because Ryan was so involved and his family was very involved in our community. So to see this turnout, I know it touches their hearts, but it touches all of our hearts also.
Even with all the drama that can come with high school, his friends say no one ever had anything bad to say about him.
It's just, he was like the main character of the whole town. Everybody knew who he was, and I was glad to know who he was.
And though life must go on without number 9,
And it's a big season coming up for us, so we're gonna go out there and do it all for him.
he'll always be a part of the Strom Thurmond community. In Edgefield, Sydney Heiberger on your side.
Ryan will also be honored this weekend. Tomorrow there's a memorial kickball game for him at the Strom Thurmond baseball fields. It's at 1 p.m., $10 to play. There will also be a donation bucket, and all the money will go to help Ryan's family.
Full forecast.
Thanks, Riley. Amber Hendricks thought her life was over. Almost 5 years ago, she was just 19 years old, outside tanning in her front yard.
Out of nowhere, a car lost control and hit her in a freak accident. She was told she would never walk again. Now Brady Trapnell shows us she's not only walking, but has committed her life to helping others.
From the outside, Amber Hendricks looks like your normal 24-year-old woman. You would never know her scars.
Everything was fine, and then all of a sudden, this horrible, unfair thing happened to me.
19 years old, sunbathing in her front yard.
Felt like the rest of my life was gone.
And hit by a car.
I got drugged for like 30, 40 feet, folded up with my legs over my head. So as soon as that happened, I was like, I'm never going to walk again.
Spinal surgeries, reconstruction of part of her nervous system.
She had every lumbar spinal vertebra was fractured.
Dr. John Devine is one of the surgeons who helped save her.
I remember telling her that she may never walk normally again, if she walks at all.
Now, a year of rehab later, Amber Hendricks works out 5 or 6 days a week.
Unless you're someone who has lost their mobility, there are no words.
Sometimes there are no words for a miracle.
This event, although seemingly tragic on the surface, is an event that changed the trajectory of her life completely.
Today, she's a nurse in Dr. Devine's OR. Why? Because of what one nurse did for her.
I was at my absolute lowest, and she made me feel like I was going to be okay. And if I could do that for someone else, that's the why, that's the reason.
And that's the reason why her colleagues call her an inspiration.
She's gritty, and she's tough, and she's a hard worker.
I just feel so much for every patient I have because I've been there.
Our scars, inside or out, tell a story.
I'll never be normal. I'll never be 100% again.
Sometimes that story is a miracle, but almost always, that story is hope for someone else. Reporting in Augusta, Brady Trapnell on your side.
So what a great team she had around her, and what a great nurse she's already making.
Yeah, just incredible, her recovery. And Amber did tell us she does still have some numbness in her legs and her feet. Doctors say that may never fully heal, but she says she's just thankful for how far she's come. You can tell her attitude has a lot to do with that.
It really did. Well, our local nursing homes are starting to get the vaccines, and today, residents at Marshall Pines Assisted Living in Evans held their first vaccine clinic. Here it is, 30 seniors living there. Officials say they vaccinated about 90% of the residents and staffers today.
We are one of the few communities that have been able to remain COVID-free through the whole pandemic. And so for us to be able to offer this to our residents and staff members has been monumental.
I'm going to knock on wood for her. Marshall Pines was one of the first nursing homes to enroll in the CDC's Pharmacy Partnership for Long-Term Care Program. The CDC partnered with CVS, Walgreens, and others to bring vaccines to nursing homes.
And 2 grocery store chains are now offering free COVID vaccines. It includes stores here in our area. Kroger now has the vaccine at every one of their pharmacies in Georgia. Tomorrow, Publix will also have the vaccine in locations across Georgia, and that includes the store on Washington Road in Evans and on Furys Ferry Road in Martinez. You do have to make an appointment online with either Kroger or Publix to get one. We made it easy for you. We have links to both stores on our website. Vaccinations, though, still only for people who are eligible. And right now, that includes healthcare workers, first responders, and people 65 and older. In South Carolina, DHEC says the state gets 63,000 doses of the vaccine each week. So far, all the vaccines the state received have either been given out or been scheduled. So they say what's slowing down vaccinations is the supply from the government. DHEC is working on a statewide online system to set up those vaccine appointments. They say that could be ready in the next few weeks. They didn't give an exact timeline.
And we know trying to schedule a vaccine has been tough for a lot of you in South Carolina. The last couple of days, we've been looking at some of the problems that come with signing up. And just wanted to remind you, these are the 4 places in the area where you can sign up. And we're going to leave this up for a few seconds on the screen. You can take a picture or maybe take a second and jot it down. But Aiken Regional, Department of Health, it's better to call, they say. Edgefield Hospital, you can only call Thursday mornings to set up an appointment. For doctors' care schedule online, we're going to set up a one-stop shop for you with all this information on the website. Just head that way and search vaccinations.
New tonight, details emerging about why suspects opened fire on a home back in October, killing a 12-year-old boy. Authorities say it was a fight over a drug deal. These details emerging in a bond hearing today for Hakeem Hampton, the only surviving murder suspect in the boy's death. Authorities say Hampton and Dominique Bush got into a drunk dispute. A week later, Hampton and Demetrius Williams allegedly opened fire on the house where Bush lived with his girlfriend. Her son, Edward McKenzie Jr., was inside and was killed. Demetrius Williams was found dead last week in Warrenville. Dominique Bush was arrested last week and faces murder and gun charges. Hakeem Hampton's bond was denied yesterday.
3 former Aiken County jailers have been arrested. Investigators found former Sergeant Thomas Caffrey, Deputy Hilario Fuentes Rosario, and Corporal Rodney Robinson used excessive force on an inmate. This happened back in August. Authorities say a 29-year-old male inmate was passively resisting, not following commands, and that's when they say the 3 former officers used excessive force. The 3 were fired back in August, but were arrested this morning after a SLED investigation. A car drives right through the middle of a crime scene in Orangeburg and later crashes. It started just outside the Walmart there where someone was hit by a car on North Road. We've reached out to the coroner's office for an ID, but while officials were investigating that, a car drove right through the crime scene, actually hitting the body. Troopers chased that car down North Road where the car eventually crashed. We've reached out to the Orangeburg County Sheriff's Office to find out more about that suspect.
Taking a look at the progress on the pedestrian bridge at Augusta University, you can see that bridge starting to take shape. The bridge will cross over Goss Lane near R.A. Denton Boulevard. It will connect the College of Science and the Research Center on AU's campus. Officials hope this will cut down foot traffic on the road in a busy area of campus.
The FBI issuing a general threat to all state capitals ahead of
These as we roll into most of next week.
Riley, thanks. 2 important days on our national calendar coming up next week. Martin Luther King Jr. Day, which Riley just mentioned, and Inauguration Day.
But with the pandemic and enormous political divides, some Richmond County teachers worry the significance of these days could get lost for kids. Nick Proto shows us their plan to keep that from happening.
Richmond County students have off Monday for Martin Luther King Jr. Day, but teachers want to make sure they're still using it as an opportunity to learn. I spoke with local school leaders who say this year it's more important than ever to get Dr. King's message of peace and equality out to the students.
It's very important for this time and all times in history. It's important that we understand history so that we can make a better future for ourselves.
It's been almost 60 years since Martin Luther King's I Have a Dream speech at the March on Washington, but Richmond County leaders want to make sure the message doesn't get lost in history. Just over a week after the riots at the Capitol, they're using the holiday as an opportunity to teach students about that message.
We want to make sure that parents understand that your students are home, they're learning from home at this time, and it's a wonderful opportunity for you to be able to talk about the historical significance of Dr. Martin Luther King.
Normally, teachers can hold classroom discussions with their students, but with everyone learning from home, it becomes harder. Ponder says they've been working with teachers on preparing students and parents for activities to do at home. Things like listening to Dr. King's speech and seeing how it relates to today. They're also having teachers encourage conversations among students through their online discussion boards.
They have the students prepared to dig deeper into the life of Dr. King with their parents. I'm sure that they will be talking to their parents about him, his life, and what they've learned in the classroom thus far.
With Joe Biden's inauguration next week, some are hoping for a new wave of hope and opportunity, a chance to use the past to build a better future.
This is a moment in which kids can donate to local shelters. They can donate food, books, clothing. They can also write letters to first responders to show their compassion and appreciation for the work that they do each day.
In Augusta, Nick Proto on your side.
The pandemic's still making it hard to hold big events, but that wasn't going to keep local colleges from celebrating Martin Luther King. Augusta University, Augusta Tech, and Payne College together held a virtual birthday celebration for Dr. King since today is his birthday. Andrew Young, a former congressman and U.S. ambassador to the United Nations, was the keynote speaker.
There's a celebration for Dr. King happening this weekend. Saturday, there will be a Peace and Unity Parade in downtown Waynesboro. It starts at noon. Organizers say law enforcement from multiple agencies will be there for that parade. Couple of programs.